Hello everyone, my name is Dakoba and welcome back to Satisfactory. In this episode, we're going to be taking a look at a few different things. The main emphasis for this episode is going to be in establishing a logistics system that will allow us to connect up all the different factories that we're starting to build here in the northwest corner of the map. We've got our quartz factory, our steel factory, and our modular frame factory all sort of spread out around us, and we want to bring all of those components back here so that we can start expanding our sort of main area a little bit, start building up this place a little bit, and advancing into more research. Now, in order to do that, we're going to need to unlock some more research. At the end of our last episode, we went ahead and unlocked Logistics Mark III. We're going to start off this episode by unlocking vehicular transport, advanced steel production, and improved melee combat. Now, these are things we have factories producing all the things we need already, so I'm going to run around and gather up some materials and just knock those out real quick. All right, let's get started with vehicular transport. Since we're going to be spending a lot of time working with tractors and truck stations this episode, this is a good place to get started. And now that's away while we wait for the pod to return to send off our next milestone, let's take a look at truck stations and what sort of things we need to do to set up a simple truck system that will let us connect up all of our factories. Alright, let's start by taking a look at the vehicle. So here we have a tractor, and a tractor is the first vehicle you're likely to unlock in Satisfactory, and it is a great little vehicle. On the back, you can see it has a workbench. This is where we'll add some fuel to it, and this will take most fuel types. We're going to put some coal in there. I think it can also use the flower petals, as well as some more advanced fuels we'll be able to get later. I think it can also take solid biofuel if you have some of that left around. And we do have a little bit of extra biomass we could turn into that if we wanted to. You'll also see it has an inventory, and this inventory is, let's see, 25 slots. So that's sort of the maximum amount of cargo it can haul at a single given time, and that is something that we'll want to be mindful of in the future when we go to make our vehicle systems more efficient. So we'll be able to haul 25 stacks of items at a time. You can also see that it has a craft bench. This is one of the most useful things about vehicles, as it means that if you're going exploring, you can load up on things like your iron plates, your iron rods, your steel, your concrete, your wires, your cables, whatever you need, and go exploring and essentially set up an outpost base wherever you find the resources that you're looking for. This makes things like hunting hard drives, where you might need to set up biomass burners or build large bridges out of foundations and other things, super easy and super useful. So vehicles are fantastic for exploring. They open up so much more of the map, and it's one of the things I'm most excited about. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit more about exploring in a later episode, but that's definitely something we're going to take advantage of. Now, if you want to drive a vehicle, you do need to make sure it has fuel in it, and then you can go ahead and just pop in and start moving around. Alright, now let's take a look at the truck station. If we look at the back of the truck station, you can see it has two sort of input panels, two output panels, and then it's got this third input panel over here on the side, and you can actually see that's labeled for fuel. So if you want to use truck stations to automatically refuel your vehicles, you need to send fuel in through there. If we open up the panel, you can see that it has a rather large inventory, so this can be used as a sort of large storage building. You can also see that the truck station itself takes 20 megawatts of power, and if the truck station is attached to a route, we'll actually calculate the fuel per minute consumed by that route so that you can appropriately adjust your fuel inputs. If you find that a route takes, for example, 65 fuel per minute, then that's how much fuel you need to sort of mine and make sure that the truck stations along that route are providing to the vehicles. Generally, that's going to be much lower, 4 or 5 fuel per minute, I think is what you usually see. And part of the reason for that is that you want your truck routes to be as long as possible and to take as long as possible because of the sheer volume of stuff that trucks can carry. You don't want them running all the time. In addition to that, you see there's a vehicle settings panel down here that lets you switch between loading and unloading. This is how you set different truck stations to either be a source or destination for items. We're going to go ahead and go around to all of our different factories and set up a truck station there that is set to load. So we'll go to our quartz factory and load up all of our quartz crystals and silica, for example. and then we'll go to our steel factory and we'll load up all of our steel beams and steel pipes. And then we'll go to our modular frame factory and load up all our modular frames. And then we'll come back to a storage system we're going to be building, and there will have a truck station set to unload, where it will unload all of those items. Now, vehicles can refuel at unload stations, but I think we're going to overclock one of our coal miners at our steel plant and just pipe a little bit of extra fuel to the truck station that we're using there in order to fuel our vehicle. Now, the last thing I want to talk about with truck stations is the power draw. You can see that a truck station takes 20 megawatts of power, and that is actually an issue for us, because if we come over and we look at our power grid, you can see that we're spiking up over 500 megawatts of power, up near 527, 530, and our plan is to build 4 truck stations. That'll be 80 megawatts of power with only 600 megawatts of production. We're in a tight spot, so we need to be really mindful of that. And the good news is that truck stations, while they do take 20 megawatts of power, they don't take it all the time. They only take it while a vehicle is docked there. To demonstrate this, I've got this set up to a biomass burner. And remember, biomass burners are intelligent. They'll only burn fuel if there is something that's drawing power. If there's nothing drawing power, the fuel doesn't get consumed. And you can see here that this biomass burner is stalled out. Now, what causes a truck stop to activate and to use fuel is whenever a vehicle is sort of interacting with it, and the vehicle notably doesn't even need to be doing anything. So in this case, our biomass, or our truck station is set to load, but there's no items in it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and you can see that as we drive our truck in, the light will turn from yellow to green on the truck station, meaning that it is sort of turned on at this point. And if we come over and we look at our biomass burner, you can see that our power consumption has spiked up to 20 megawatts, and we are consuming that fuel like crazy. Now, if we pop back into our tractor and we back out of the truck station sort of loading area, then you can see the light turns back to yellow. And taking a look at our power grid again, you can see we've sort of stopped consuming power. Now, what this means is that truck stations will only use power for when vehicles are there. And since we're only going to be having one vehicle sort of running this route between these 4 truck stations, then we will at most be using 20 megawatts of power at a time, because our truck stations are going to be far enough apart, and with only one vehicle, we'll never be using more than one of them at a time. And with our drop pod returned, we can go ahead and take a look at our next milestone, which is going to be advanced steel production. Fortunately, we have all the materials for this, so we can send this away. Advanced steel production is going to be one of the most important milestones that we are dealing with here for a couple of reasons. Number one is the Mark II miners. This will allow us to double our mining production from all of our different nodes, which means we'll be able to further streamline and simplify our production lines. We'll be able to expand things, and this is going to be a major one, is that if we do need to set up some more temporary power before we start building our big power plant, we're going to go ahead and simply drop in a couple of Mark II miners on top of the current ones we have, and then just double the size of our power plant. And that's great. That's definitely a way we can do that. The encased industrial beams are also something we're going to need a lot of production for going into sort of the next phase of the game, because it is actually the Mark IV belt component. Now, we won't get Mark IV belts for a while yet, but we will be getting that. And then stators, which are a component of motors as well as of automated wiring, which is one of our next space elevator parts, and heavy modular frames are all components that we're going to be using a ton of going forward. So these are all things that we are going to need to start sort of figuring out how to set up factories for. All right, now our first step towards implementing a vehicle-based logistics system is going to be to clear all of this out and make a bunch of space for it. Once we've got that done, we're going to set up our sort of home-based truck station. This is where everything is going to be shipped to, and then we'll also set up a storage system and sorting system alongside that so that we can handle the items when they come in. Once we've finished that up, we'll go around to all the different factories and set up our truck stations. Now, how we're going to do this is by replacing the awesome sinks at each location with a truck station. That's one of the advantages of using the technique and sort of building them in the way that I have, is that because we're going to be able to sync all the things that we're collecting here at one sort of final location, then we don't need to worry about having a sink at our steel factory anymore. We don't need to worry about having a sink at our quartz factory. And by doing that, we will save power in the long run as well, because we won't need to be running 5 different sinks. We can run just one, and then we can use a truck line to bring all of the items into one place and sort it out and handle it all there. Let's get into it. And with our storage system all done and dusted, let's pop on over to our modular frame factory and set up our first our first outpost truck stop. All right, we're over here at our modular frame factory, and you can see we're getting about 10 modular frames per minute. I've gone ahead and eliminated our storage container and moved all of our modular frames over into our truck station. We should be getting about 10 items per minute coming in, which means a stack about every 5 minutes. So that's a good number to keep in mind. And we do have this truck station set to load. So when we bring a vehicle through here, it will load modular frames in. Let's pop on over to our steel factory and set up our next one. Okay, and we're here at our steel factory. I've gone ahead and removed the awesome sink. So let's go ahead and drop in our truck station. And if we can get this lined up nicely with our conveyors there, that'll be perfect. And this is also where we're going to establish our fuel line. So I'm going to leave just a little bit of space there on the right so we can take out this foundation. And maybe if we do a layer, yeah, this is going to be perfect. This will be great. Down here we can do a layer of these 1 meter foundations so that the rest of our factory doesn't look crazy. And then we can drop in from underneath here some of our coal that will redirect from sort of underneath there. We'll snake a line over here and up and into our truck station to fuel our trucks. Just like so. And then boom and boom. And finally set up some power. Done. All right, and to provide power there, we're going to come over here and set up just a quick conveyor splitter and run another line. We may try to beautify this a little bit later, but right now I'm just keen on getting it up and running. And let's see, can we get a nice little place to hook in up there? It doesn't look like it. All right, let's do a vertical one. There. And then we'll reconnect that over from the top. And we can pop down in here and just run a belt line just like so. And now our truck station has fuel. Here at our quartz factory, we can go ahead and set up our final truck station for this system. Now with a truck station like this, you can see that the clearance for the truck station actually goes right up to the edge of the concrete. That means we're going to have to make sure our truck has a way up onto this concrete. So we're going to go ahead and do some additional ramps and things and infrastructure so that our truck has a way to get up here. Now trucks are sometimes not the most precise of beasts, and so we want to make sure they have a nice easy time of it as much as we're able to make it for them. So we're going to go ahead and extend out this foundation just a little bit to make sure that the truck is able to navigate that space well. All right, with all of our truck stations in place, we're back here at our steel factory. Now, because this is where we're going to be refueling the truck, this is where I'm going to use as the start and end of our enclosed loop for creating our truck route. In order to create a truck route, you need to get into the truck. You can see there at the bottom of the screen that I've placed some coal into this truck to act as starting fuel for this. And if I hold V, then you can see that we have a sort of truck wheel here. I can start recording, I can load an already recorded path, I can show or hide any nodes related to sort of existing truck routes, and I can enable autopilot. So once I've recorded a path, that's how we'll turn it on. You can also cancel recording if you are halfway through a recording. So let's go ahead and start recording, and start by driving our truck up into the truck station here. Because this truck station is active, we should see it load up. There we go. We're going to wait 1 or 2 seconds in order to let the animation complete, and that should give us plenty of time to load up whatever cargo this place has, and then we can drive on to our next truck stop. All right, during this time lapse, I want to ask you guys what you think about something. So far, we've kind of been building our factory as sort of a merge of as a centralized main base location, and then also kind of building some outpost factories near natural resources where they occur. And that's sort of worked really well for us so far. But as we start to get into more advanced constructions and projects, the lines between those are going to be able to be blurred. Now, I'd like to know, do you guys like the outpost factories, or do you guys want to see sort of a large central main mega base? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, and with our tractor going off on its first lap, its first independent autopilot lap, we'll jump around behind it to make sure that everything is in order and working, keep an eye on it, and then we'll head back to base to see what our next step is. While we were chasing after our truck, we spotted another lizard doggo somewhere over here. I'm not sure where he got to. There he is. Hey, buddy. I have berries. Hey, friend. Perfect. We'll take him back to join his new friends. All right, well, heading back to base with our new lizard doggo friend, we came across sulfur, and I had a hard time believing, but I double-checked. This is the first time we've seen sulfur in this series. So let's go ahead and pick this up, and that'll open up a new branch of research in the MAM. All right, and with our lizard doggo safely back, let's get back to finishing up our truck route. Now, you may have noticed that I'd made a few mistakes during the recording of the truck route. Among other things, I ran over some of my cameramen, and I had this station accidentally set to load rather than unload. So we'll go ahead and fix that, and then we can pop on over and take a look at one of the other things we did. All right, during the route recording, you may have noticed that I had been just sort of running down plants, and I'd incorrectly assumed that this tree was one of the ones that we'd be able to drive through. What this meant was that we have this sort of weird arrow where we're crashing into this tree and then this pause node. And one of the cool things is that you can actually edit a route after it's been created by go ahead and removing any obstacles like this and then changing the node. So I can go ahead and delete this node, and that will sort of eliminate it from the line. And then if I also delete this pause, go ahead and delete that. Then you can see we have sort of our normal unobstructed path here where we have these sort of arrows coming through here now. And we have another tree up there where we did the same thing, and we'll resolve it in the same way. And with the truck unloading, we can see that the items have come into our truck station and are now ready to be sorted. All right, and we can see the items starting to come in. Looks like we're working through a batch of modular frames, but we've also got some steel beams in there and going through the sorting system. Now we've got modular frames in our first one, then steel beams, steel pipes, quartz crystals, and then silica. And then we have several unused. Those are going to be used for factories that we have yet to build. In particular, encased industrial beams and motors and stators, I think, are going to be sort of the three next step parts that we're going to want access to in our mall here, that we will be trucking in. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to build those factories along the same truck line, or at least with a truck stop along the same truck line, so that those items can just sort of be picked up and carried in. All right, while we sit here and watch our sorter and trucking system do its work on our new mall, let's go ahead and work out some numbers on how we can make this more efficient. Let's start by going over what all we're trucking in here. From our quartz factory, we have 75 quartz crystals per minute, 40 and 45 silica per minute. From our modular frame factory, we have 10 modular frames per minute. And from our steel factory, we have 30 steel beams and 40 steel pipes per minute. This gives us a total of 200 items per minute coming in. This is just fine. We have Mark III belts, which means we can sort 270 items per minute. It also means that when we get Mark IV belts, we can upgrade these belts to expand the system just a little bit if we want to increase production at some of our factories. Our last step in terms of making our truck route more efficient is going to be to introduce a delay, which will allow the truck to make the most out of the fuel it's using. Our truck route takes about 6 minutes and 20 seconds to drive and also uses about 50 fuel. In 6 minutes and 20 seconds, our various factories will produce about 11 stacks of items. That's about 3 stacks coming from our quartz crystals, 2 from our silica, 2 from our modular frames, 2 from our steel beams, and 2 from our steel pipes, for a total of 11 stacks. Now remember that our tractor has a 25 stack inventory, which means that if we let this tractor sort of run at full speed all the time, it's going to sort of fill about halfway on each lap before it unloads back at main base. This is inefficient because it uses the same amount of fuel regardless of how much cargo it has. So by introducing a delay, we can cause sort of those factories to load up more items. Instead of loading up 2 stacks at our modular frame factory, if we introduce a delay, then we can load up 4 stacks. And if we do this for all of our factories and sort of just introduce a delay equal to our route time, then we'll load up twice as much stuff at each factory because the factories will have time to produce twice as much stuff. And so we're going to go ahead and do that. In order to introduce a delay, you want to look for one of these pause nodes. And if you edit that pause node, you'll see that there's some amount of time there. You can see that this pause node lasts 9 seconds. Now 9 seconds is enough to load up, I think it loads up 5 stacks per second. And so this is enough to fully load the truck, which is just fine. But because we want to sort of introduce this extra delay, we can go ahead and change this. Now, like I said, our route is 6 minutes and 20 seconds, and I want to double that. So some quick desktop math here says that that's 380 seconds. So we'll change this to be a 389 second wait time. Done. And now the truck, when it comes to this location, it will pause for 389 seconds. Now, as I was leaving, it occurred to me that I don't think we actually have any pause nodes that are not sitting in front of a truck station. If we did, that would actually be the ideal place to implement one of these delays, because remember, while a truck is directly in front of a truck station, that truck station is turned on and it's drawing power. And if we sort of introduce that pause away from a truck station, then it would just not be using power during that time. Having it there in front of the truck station, it is going to be using power. Ultimately, that's okay because I think we need sort of the power capacity buffer anyways, but that is something else that could be done a little bit more efficiently if we felt like re-recording this, or if we'd had the foresight to introduce a pause in the route away from a truck station. All right, with our logistics system all squared away, let's go ahead and turn to our last milestone for this episode, which is improved melee combat. Fortunately, we have all the materials we need for that, so let's get that sent off and away and play around with the new toys that gives us. Alright, the Xenobasher is an improved weapon. It's about twice as strong as the Xenozapper, as well as can reach farther, and has a slightly easier attack pattern. Let's give this a test out on some of our poor innocent camera people here. And that works just fine. Alright, and with all of our research done and our logistics system set up and underway, I think we are just about ready to wrap up for today. Between episodes, I'm going to go exploring and look for some more hard drives and some power slugs so that we can get ready to do our next big project, which is going to be the focus of our next episode, a big build, our first of the series, and I'm very excited. We'll get to play around with some new buildables from the awesome shop, as well as take a look at some techniques for how to make some really impressive structures in Satisfactory. Thank you guys again for watching. My name has been Dakoba. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this episode, subscribe if you want to see more, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Have an efficient day.